Good morning, my brothers and sisters. Welcome to episode number 194 in the book of Genesis. So today's title is about big deal. What difference does Genesis make? Well, I'm going to give you four things that Genesis should help us make a difference for in no particular order. Number one, Genesis makes a difference in our appreciation of marriage. So Adam found himself on planet loneliness, and he's here with a bunch of animals, but no wife for him. And he realizes, and God tells him, that it's not good for man to be alone. So he is looking for the answer to the first relational problem that's on the planet. He's found that everything made of dirt didn't address his aloneness. And every creature fabulous enough not to be made of dirt was eventually going to be Eve herself. So Jesus is not the first rescue mission that God sends down to earth, or as we know, for those of us who have been following in Genesis, Joseph's story is a rescue story that the Lord sends down. Well, isn't Eve, though, the first rescue mission that God sends down? So if you're a husband or a wife, or you desire to be one, I have just a couple of ideas. Number one, be grateful. I say, say to your spouse, I searched for you. I need you. I was desperate without you. Remember how Adam was. Secondly, be surprised all over again. Marriage is a gift that keeps on giving day by day. It's like every day is your birthday, and rejoice and do the same things that Adam does. And wow, eureka, this is incredible. We are made for one another. Thirdly, hold fast, be faithful. So there's plenty of bad examples in the book of Genesis alone to steer us to right examples. So quite frankly, the marriage bed in the book of Genesis alone is violated by polygamy. It's violated by sexual violence in a rape. It's violated by a person getting married for the wrong reason, where he's just trying to make his mom and dad mad. It's violated by improper usage of the marriage bed outside of marriage. So it points us to honor the marriage bed, honor the institution of marriage. So I think practically, what does that mean? Support those who are in it, support those who are going into it, and support those who need some help in it today, and maybe even help those who have gone through it and have been faithful all the way till death, like they promised. All right, so that's the big point of number one, is Genesis makes a difference with regards to marriage. Secondly, Genesis makes a difference with regards to our understanding about evil. So a big question is, why in the world did God allow a serpent in the garden? And why did God allow what we now know as a serial killer? So we say, a serpent, people even have a few serpents as pets. Well, nobody has a serial killer by their, as a roommate, at least not that they know about. So why did God allow what we now know as a serial killer, the serpent, into the garden? Similar question we just got done with in the life of Joseph is, why did God allow Joseph to be sold into slavery, to be put in prison, to face sexual peril? And we have, the reality is, it starts in Genesis, goes all the way through the Bible, and our time and our history here today is that we have a God that, at least until the time when Revelation chapter 20 starts, that God allows evil. So in the meantime, we have to learn that sovereignty trumps evil. So we get that principle from Joseph. You sold me and God sent me. And we have some things in the meantime, how I think, how I should act, who should I rely on when I encounter circumstances that I do not prefer. And we learn that those may be the very things, the very tools that God uses to increase your access and your influence to new people. All right. So evil, marriage. Third thing is, Genesis makes a difference in our understanding of the church. So one of the greatest things about Genesis is God leaning into specific individual people, Abraham and Hagar and Sarah, and he has these personal encounters with people, but then he's collecting people. He leans into his people as a group. So he starts being faithful to a people group that we call now the Jews or Israel. But remember, it started with one man, and then it went to one couple, and then it went to a couple of kids, and then a bigger family. And all along, it's been a very imperfect family. It will be a family that displays its need for a Savior on every single page. So we see God's planning and protection and provision as he invents Israel. Israel didn't exist. How did we get Israel? Well, it started in the mind of God. He invented it. He started it from nothing. So God sure has a sweet spot for the specific nation. If you fly over the Mediterranean here today, there's a nation there. It's called Israel, and God definitely has a sweet spot in his heart there. But it's also not out of bounds for us to say how much care and passion God has for his church, for his Christian church. So the reason that God took such good care of Israel, the nation, it is as a foundation for the church. So God really loves his church, I think, by extension. And if you don't love God's church, you will have to prove to me otherwise that you love the Lord. So because your feelings about God himself are exposed by your feelings towards the people of God. So just to challenge you questioning is, are you moving towards the people of God? All right, last thing is Genesis makes a difference in our understanding of evil. So we all would like to have intimacy and immortality and harmony in the world before there was, no death, but then there was this fall. And death requires this fall requires a penalty. So the first penalty of death was Adam and then Eve. And this affects us every day. Decay, sickness, tears, loss, suffering, all this. It affects me every single day. It affects you. It affects the billion people that are on this planet. So one of the greatest acts of evil of all time, this rebellion against God, there's another death that is required, and that's the death of Christ to fix it. So this is also going to require the killing of Jesus. So not only does Adam and Eve, die, Jesus has to die. Now, it's no surprise to him. It doesn't make it any less grievous, though. So he did everything that he could give it to us the first time. He gave us paradise. We messed it up, and he gives us even more. Now we get paradise plus the life of Jesus. So every page of the Bible practically points to the end, which is that he wins. And the rampant evil could not or was not resisted, endured by Adam and Eve, but it was fixed by Jesus. So this means that we all need a Savior. So let's start with right thinking about the topics as clarified in Genesis. Right behavior in trusting him as we look at evil, marriage, church, and the fall. Thanks for listening.